I'm Stephen Douglas, Senator of Illinois. Let me tell you the story of the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which allowed people in the territories of Kansas and Nebraska to decide whether or not to allow slavery within their borders. The act also nullified the Missouri Compromise of 1820, which prohibited slavery north of latitude 36 degrees and 30 minutes.
In January 1854, I proposed a bill to organize Nebraska as a territory in order to facilitate the building of a transcontinental railroad. By the Missouri Compromise, Nebraska would automatically become a candidate for admission as a free state, and Southerners would oppose the bill. Therefore, I repealed the Missouri Compromise and wrote the slavery issue in the Nebraska region would be decided by popular sovereignty. I also divided the Nebraska Territory into two parts, Nebraska and Kansas. After the Kansas-Nebraska Act was passed by the U.S. Congress on May 30, 1854, pro-slavery and anti-slavery supporters rushed in to settle Kansas to vote in the first election held there after the law was passed. Pro-slavery settlers carried the election. The anti-slavery settlers did not accept the results of the first election. They held another election. However, pro-slavery settlers refused to vote. This resulted in the establishment of two opposing legislatures within the Kansas Territory. Violence soon erupted, with the anti-slavery forces led by John Brown. The territory earned the nickname Bleeding Kansas as the death toll rose. President Franklin Pierce, in support of the pro-slavery settlers, sent in federal troops to stop the violence and disperse the anti-slavery legislature. Another election was called. Once again, pro-slavery supporters won, and once again, they were charged with election fraud. As a result, Congress did not recognize the Constitution adopted by the pro-slavery settlers, and Kansas was not allowed to become a state. Eventually, however, anti-slavery settlers outnumbered pro-slavery settlers, and the new Constitution was drawn up. On January 29, 1861, just before the start of the Civil War, Kansas was admitted to the Union as a free state. The passage of the bill raised the animosity between the North and the South, paving the way to civil war. It irrevocably split the Whig Party. Most of the Southern Whigs were soon swept into the Democratic Party. Northern Whigs reorganized themselves with other non-slavery interests to become the Republican Party. This left the Democratic Party as the sole remaining institution that crossed sectional lines. Animosity between the North and the South was again on the rise. The North felt that if the Compromise of 1820 was ignored, Compromise of 1850 could be ignored as well. Violations of the hated fugitive slave law increased.